Kal Alam Malak Yahweh Wa Yahweh Shai Bahashem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders of GMS Aruel. Blessings unto those men. And blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing this word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel Barakatah. Today's lesson comes from RT. And I'm going to name this one the draft of the so-called ultra-Orthodox Jews. And here we have another RT.com article which says Israel's top court rules ultra-Orthodox Jews must be drafted. Seminary students have been exempt from compulsory military service for decades. Israel's Supreme Court has unanimously ruled that the military must draft, and that's the key word, must draft, must draft ultra-Orthodox Jewish seminary students into military service as the war in Gaza stretches into its 9th month and Israel faces a shortage of manpower. A must draft. In other words, a mandatory draft is required. And that's what wars create. Shortages of men. That's why there's a scripture where it says that the virgin shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The woman shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughter shall mourn having no helpers. A must draft, in other words, is a mandatory draft which is required. A must draft, in other words, a mandatory draft is required. Back then, when it came to ultra-Orthodox students who studied the Torah, they were exempt from military conscription. And the word conscription is defined by the Britannica Dictionary Online as the practice of ordering people by law to serve in the armed forces. Right, the draft. And when it comes to the so-called ultra-Orthodox that inhabit the land of Israel, they do not serve in the military. That's the reason why it says here on Google, why don't ultra-Orthodox people serve in the military? It further goes on to say that the ultra-Orthodox see their full-time religious study as their part in protecting the state. Many fear that greater contact with secular society through the military will distance adherents from strict observance of the faith. And here on the bottom it also says, during Israel's 1948 War of Independence, Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion struck a deal with leaders of the Haredi community to exempt those whose full-time occupation was Torah study from mandatory military service. But now, due to Israel's shortage of manpower, it's a whole new ballgame. They must now draft, as it clearly says here in the RT article. They must draft, mandatory draft. They're not going to come out and say mandatory. They got a problem with saying mandatory. When it comes to this topic of the draft, the elders as well as the brotherhood have been telling you for years that a draft was sure to come. You're witnessing that draft now with these other nations, but that eventually will also come to the states as well. When it comes to soldiers, they are expected to maintain the highest possible level of physical readiness because they must be ready to mobilize and perform their duties anywhere in the world at any given time. And these men that you see here upon this image are not fit for military duty. To go from one lifestyle to another is a drastic change that will require a tremendous crash course in military operations. And a crash course is defined as a rapid and intense course of study. And when it comes to the study of military operations, being physically fit is crucial for military personnel. When it comes to this RT article, the words that were used were must be drafted and must draft. Now, if this article does not fall under mandatory enlistment, I do not know what is. And when it comes to military conscription, that is mandatory military enlistment. Here we have the scripture of 2 Esdras 16 and 33. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Right, because the women shall lose their men to the war. There shall be many casualties of war. Look at Ukraine versus Russia, for instance. Ukraine, over 500,000 soldiers have been killed by the Russians. But when it comes to the soldiers that partake in that destructive nuclear Third World War, none shall return. So you know those Ukrainian women over there in Ukraine, they're mourning. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers, right? Because they're all dying to the war. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Now we shall see if you women can go on without men. Because a lot of you say, oh, we don't need a man to live. We shall see. When we told you that a mandatory draft was coming, many did not believe. That mandatory military draft shall also come to America. And the brother Sakaran, he was saying today that about the movie with Patrick Swayze, I think he was referring to Red Dawn when they attacked America. That mandatory military draft shall also come to America. The time cometh when the least of the flock shall draw them out. Draw them out to what? To war. The small hats shall draw out the Americans to that destructive war of Armageddon. Here we have 2 Esdras 16 and 34. In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Right now, we are currently witnessing small wars taking place, and we are also in the rumors of war. But make no mistake, as soon as that deceitful CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16 is fully implemented upon society, that third world war cometh quickly. In the war shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, especially in that third world war that shall come, that shall take place. On the day of that greater destructive war, no soldier will come home. Many women shall mourn in the wars over their deceased husbands. Then we shall see if you can handle yourselves without any men. Because a lot of women say, oh, we don't need a man. We're independent. We shall see. The time will come when the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai of hosts, hosts meaning armies, shall muster the host of the battle in that final showdown of World War III. But let's continue reading the RT article. Let's go back to the RT article. On Tuesday, the court also ordered the government to stop funding religious schools or yeshivas whose students avoid the draft. At this time, there is no legal framework that makes it possible to distinguish between yeshiva students and those destined for military service, the court said. Accordingly, the state does not have the authority to order a blanket avoidance of their conscription. And the word conscription, as defined by the Britannica Dictionary Online, as I stated earlier, means the practice of ordering people by law to serve in the armed forces. That sure sounds to me like a mandatory draft. With this issue of the must draft, there will be much negative backlash to come. This is not the end of this article. There's even an issue in the military when it comes to being overweight and obese. There's even an issue in the military when it comes to being overweight and obese. Even though the Israeli state is ranked as one of the healthiest countries in the world, it still has that nasty chain of McDonald's. It also has Pizza Hut, KFC, and Burger King. But when it comes to America, on the other hand, as it says here, it has a 68% of active duty service members that are either overweight or obese, and with eating disorders in its military. And if it has increased by approximately 79% between 2017 and 2021, imagine now in 2024. Let me just say this, man. I've been seeing videos of the armies of the other countries. People breaking bats over themselves. Great foods being offered onto them. But then again, you have this article that says here, America, on the other hand, has 68% of active duty service members that are either overweight or obese. Being physically fit is crucial for military personnel for several reasons, as you can see here. Number one, operational effectiveness. Physical fitness is essential for soldiers to perform their duties effectively. Military operations often require physical strength, endurance, agility, and resilience. Soldiers need to be able to carry heavy equipment, march long distances, engage in combat, and perform other physical demanding tasks. Number two, combat readiness. Physical fitness is directly linked to combat readiness. Soldiers who are physically fit are better prepared to face the physical and mental challenges of combat. They are more likely to withstand the rigors of battle, recover quickly from injuries, and continue to perform effectively in demanding situations. Here we have number three, injury prevention. Being physically fit can help prevent injuries, especially musculoskeletal injuries. Soldiers who are in good physical condition are less likely to suffer from strains, sprains, and other injuries that can result from the physical demands of military training and operations. Number four, health and well-being. Regular physical exercise and fitness training not only improve physical performance but also contribute to overall health and well-being. Being physically fit can help reduce the risk of chronic diseases, improve mental health, boost energy levels, and enhance quality of life. Number five, unit cohesion. Physical fitness is often a key component of building unit cohesion and camaraderie within military units. Training together, pushing each other to improve fitness levels, and working towards common fitness goals can help build teamwork, trust, and a sense of unity among soldiers. And number 6, professionalism. Maintaining physical fitness is a fundamental aspect of military professionalism. It demonstrates discipline, commitment, and a willingness to meet the physical standards required of military service. Soldiers who are physically fit are more likely to be seen as reliable, capable, and dedicated professionals. And number 7, leadership. Military leaders are expected to set an example for their subordinates, including in matters of physical fitness. Leaders who prioritize their own physical fitness and encourage their troops to do the same can inspire others to strive for excellence in this area. Overall physical fitness is a cornerstone of military readiness, effectiveness, and overall well-being. It is not only a requirement for performing the duties of a soldier, but also plays a critical role in maintaining the health and readiness of military personnel. But like I said, in the United States, you have 68% of active duty service members that are either overweight or obese, and with eating disorders in its military. So it's a problem. Now, when it comes to the other nations, those soldiers are perfectly fit, cracking bats over their bodies, strenuous physical training, etc. And let me just say this, and when it comes to these wars, they are all bankers' wars to take away the natural resources of those lands invaded. But an inevitable third world war is coming. But before that war to end all wars takes place, first cometh the CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16. As soon as that CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16 is fully implemented upon society, then that inevitable war comes quickly. And with that being said, let's go right over to the scripture of Revelation 11 and 14. Revelation 11 and 14. The second war is past, and behold, the third war cometh quickly. Meaning that the second world war of destruction has passed, but the third world war of destruction cometh quickly. As soon as they fully implement the CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16, that war cometh quickly. As soon as that CHIP is fully implemented upon society, then that destructive and inevitable World War III follows quickly. The Lord Yahweh Yahushua has given Esau Edom the knowledge and technology of the sword, and has created the modern day smith in order to bring out the many weapons of his indignation. Those nuclear missiles of destruction shall take out modern day Babylon the Great, and they shall also cleanse the land that the small hats now inhabit. Modern day Babylon the Great shall never rebuild, but the land that the small hats now inhabit shall rebuild. It shall rebuild to welcome in the true Israelites. Let's go over to the scripture of Isaiah 14 and 1, because the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. The true Israelites shall be set in their native land. Here we have the scripture of Isaiah 14 and 1. For the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And notice that it says, and set them in their own land. Because the people there are not the true people of the Lord. What you have up in there are Amalekites. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. For the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushua will have mercy on Jacob, and Jacob's name was changed to Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with the Most High and with men, and hast prevailed. And the name of Jacob is known to be interchangeable with Judah, and it's also interchangeable with the word Israel. And will yet choose Israel, meaning all the tribes of Israel, which consists of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You are the true 12 tribes of Israel, and set them in their own land, meaning in their true native land of Israel. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. The strangers are in reference to those Israelite foreigners coming into the fold. Israelite foreigners of the same lineage and bloodline of Israel by the seed of the father. The seed of the father determines the race of the child. Israelite foreigners that learned the correct doctrine of truth under the Israelite elders and became teachers themselves. And there's only one group speaking that 100% truth, GMS Great Millstone. But these Israelite foreigners were considered strangers in following other denominations, customs, and laws. Israelites that fell away to dumb idols. They were considered strangers by following the doctrines of the Baptist and Roman Catholic Church, until they learned that actual truth from the Israelites and became followers of the truth themselves. And as a result, they now cleave to the Israelites of the house of Jacob. They now follow the house of David. There is only one truthful doctrine given by the Lord, Yahweh, and Yahushua. All those different religious denominations around the world only create confusion. Israelites were led to dumb idols, and in the process they became heathen Gentiles themselves. They were in a Gentile state of mind. With that being said, let's go back to the original article image. Because right now we are currently living in those rumors of war. But make no mistake that destructive war to end all wars will come. And it will come quickly once that CHIP is fully implemented upon society. You have the banks gearing up, getting ready to take out that tangible cash and make everything digital. That's one of the first steps to bringing in that CHIP afterwards. Once they take out that tangible money from the banks, then what follows after that is a CHIP. And whoever takes it shall be destroyed. And also that grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast. That grievous sore shall fall upon them. And upon them which worshipped his image. They shall receive that grievous sore of cancer. That is found in Revelation 16:2. They shall have the pus of cancer. But when it comes to all these smaller nations, they now have leveled out. They have now leveled out the playing field by possessing nuclear capability, unmanned vehicles and drones. They have nuclear capability. They have leveled the playing field. Let the weak say, I am strong. And they are now strong in the possession of nuclear capability. And the time will come when these other nations that now possess nuclear capability shall get together to confront the armies of the small hats and the armies of modern day Babylon the Great, which is America. And the time will come when the least of the flock shall draw them out, those small hats. This must draft of the Israeli state, as you can clearly see here, is just another step closer to that war to end all wars, to that World War III, that inevitable World War III. And no soldier shall come back in that war. That's why there's scriptures written such as these. 2 Esdras 16 and 33 once again. The virgin shall mourn having no bridegrooms, the women shall mourn having no husbands, their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. And that is in verse 34. But with that being said, Kaulallah Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Raha, Quadash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruwell. Blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity. But with that being said, Shalom Israel, Brakta.